You're listening to Made for Living Well, episode number 229. And today, we're talking about one of the most foundational components of health. If you hear any lesson, this is the one that changes the game and makes health simple. I promise. Stay tuned because you're not going to want to miss this one.
This is the Made for Living Well podcast, hosted by Schirm, the place to create a life well lived.
Welcome back to this podcast. I'm so glad you're here at the Made for Living Well podcast, which is what I absolutely believe. And it's the very reason I rebranded from Simple Roots Wellness into Made for Living Well. It's because I actively believe that we were all created and designed for health, with health, to use as a tool to go out and live our lives. And I don't want us to live another day searching and chasing and pursuing an idea of health while missing actively living it right now. Like, we don't have to wait for it, we can live it. And that's why I've created this podcast. And that's the heart and the mission behind this show, is to help you live it out today. To take the action, not just gain more knowledge and understanding, not just to let this be another pursuit where you have to wait to live, but actively live it out and taking the action today. So you are at the Made for Living Well podcast, a place to create a life well lived, and I am so pumped you're here. Today, we're talking about a topic that I believe is the most foundational component to health. Like, if we can grasp this, if you can start to see it and experience it in your own life, in the day-to-day activities and motions and everything that you do, and you start to take notice and make those subtle changes for your energy and mind, it will significantly change the outcome of your life and really everything about your life. Because this isn't just about health, this is the whole of who you are. This is what we call wellness, right? Or wholeness. It's bringing the mind, body, and soul together into one being that actively lives life. So we're talking about energy today, and it is a really big topic. So I'm going to break it down into what I believe is the most foundational ideas that you must know in order to make the changes in your life to see the best results. So we're talking all about that. Now, I don't want you to get lost in this. We've talked about it on here before, and so some of you, this isn't going to be brand new, although I hope I present it in a more obtainable way, something that you can achieve and give you those actionable steps that you can take today to actually start experiencing this. But if you want to make this a lifestyle, if you want to make this personalized and bring your whole life into this idea of creating a life well lived, of making health simple, you must join my next live class called Health Made Simple. It's about to launch and I don't want you to miss it. You can sign up at my website at thelivingwell.com/HMS, standing for Health Made Simple, or just find it on the homepage. Inside this class, I really walk you through all of the principles of health and how to bring in the mind-body-soul connection to truly create a life of health. And it will transform your entire picture of health. I promise you that. I've taken over 100 people through this course, and kind of like the beta version. And I'm so glad and excited to launch it into the world. It really is life-changing, and it's not just another gimmick or another quick, get healthy, fast scheme. I know some of us want those things, but this truly gets to the core of health, gets to the root of our problems, and helps us to create a life well lived. And I'm so pumped for it. Mostly because we get to do this together, right? Like, I'm live, we're getting to form relationships and communicate and talk and build something that you can sustain forever, really. So if you want to learn more, again, go to Health Made Simple on my homepage at thelivingwell.com, and I hope you'll sign up for that. But for now, we're going to break down energy. Now, again, if you've been around the podcast for any length of time, you know that I've talked about energy a lot. And I really just wanted to do one more episode solely on energy inside of the body and how it works so that we could have this firm foundation before we continuously build through the rest of the year on different topics that all relate back to this one central component and the theme and the lifeblood of health, which is energy. Now, today we're going to specifically talk about why you should focus on channeling energy over calculating energy. Last week, we talked about the macronutrient difference and just kind of the debate between how many macronutrients you should consume. And that was kind of the start of this lesson. So today, I just want to talk about energy flow. Now, honestly, I didn't really think much about the flow of energy for the first 90% of my nutrition career, right? The first part of my nutrition career was very systematic. It was very quantitative. I wanted to be able to measure and track. And I thought that was the answer to health. Like that is every single diet that's ever been built has been built around this quantitative measurement of different things that people could do. Whether it's eliminate a full macronutrient or count calories or follow a food pyramid or track points, whatever it is, it felt like we had put health into a box of how you calculate it. Now, as I went about my career and even in my own life, I started to recognize what a battle that was, what a fight it was. It was hard for me, for my clients, and I really felt like people were living their lives to achieve health so that then they could go out and live life, right? It was this waiting game of we have to wait to arrive in order to live. And that just didn't stick with me. Like everything inside of me fought that idea. Even though that's what the health space had been about, I really could not settle there. And so after kind of losing my own health, you might know that story. If not, we'll save that for another time. I really started to understand what is it that our body functions on? Like health should not be this complicated. Why is it so difficult? And how do we make health simple? And that's when I started learning about the concept of energy and really starting to understand this flow of energy. And honestly, it started with my own health journey and understanding that the only way I was going to heal is if I could support my body's energy level. And that's what I want you to think about today, is that we can't necessarily change 100% our flow of energy, but we can support our energy flow, which is going to enhance every single aspect of life. So let me explain this, and I don't want this to sound like an infomercial at all, but essentially saying energy is the basis for life. Every living thing has an energetic value to it. Some people call this frequency. I mean, there's lots of different measurements of energy that we could relate to. But we know this, right? Like living plants, they're green leaves. That's a measure of energy. They get energy from the sun and they convert it into food to feed the plants. We do the same thing, right? Well, with our vitamin D levels, we get a level of energy from the sun. But you could think about this in other ways too. You're listening to a device because of electricity, and that electricity is running through outlets and other circuits, or whether it's radio waves or EMF waves, right? Like there's lots of different forms of energy. Everything in life has a frequency to it. And I like to believe unless it's dead, it has energy to it. Now, some people would even say that dead things also have an energy to it. It's just a negative energy. But either way, all living things have energy. Now, if you want to get into more of like what I would call the very holistic side of things, right? When we get into like the study of crystals, and I don't want this to sound too new agey and anything like that, but there is also a frequency to different types of rocks and earth formations. And therefore, if you allow that rock or crystal to interact with your frequency and they're different, it's going to create a change in energy, which is essentially going to change your body. So to break down outside of whatever you might think about that stuff, it truly is just an encounter with a different frequency that changes the body. The same thing is happening outside of the crystal world, but it's the same truth, right? When we inhale an essential oil, that also comes with a frequency. Smells have a frequency to them, and therefore they're interacting with our own frequency, which is creating a change inside of our body. So you might be wondering, okay, why do these essential oils work and how does that happen? Well, honestly, it's just a change in frequency. Those essential oils are coming with their own frequency, which interacts with your frequency or your energy level, changing it for the good or for the bad. So everything in life that we encounter, whether it's another human being, whether it's some kind of electrical impulse, whether it's the sun or the earth or water or whatever we encounter in life, it's always acting on our energy levels. And why this is important is because it's our energy levels that affect how our body functions. Our body and every single cell inside of our body needs a certain amount of energy to function, right? Like energy is the most critical aspect. And energy comes in a lot of different forms. It can come in oxygen, it can come in nutrients, it can come in the form of hormones that signal based on different energetic flows or different perspectives of the body that the body is in. Now, I don't want this to get too complicated, but I want to keep this really simple. So let's just go back to the first law of thermodynamics that states energy is neither created nor destroyed. So if we look at our body and we think, okay, we're just a big energetic molecule, and how much energy that we're focusing or how much energy that our body has is going to determine whether we're living in health, whether we have energy, whether we feel good, or whether we feel sluggish and exhausted and overweight and burnout and have a ton of hormonal differences. Now, you might not think, okay, this can't possibly be the end-all be-all. No, it's not. There's a time and a place to really dive into the different systems of the body. But I think sometimes we so overcomplicate health and we make it about the hormonal system and the lymphatic system and the cardiovascular system. Like we've segmented off our body into different parts when truly they're all working together. So what's wrong with, you don't just have a hormonal problem. That hormonal issue is affecting every single system inside of the body. And just because your hormones are noisy doesn't mean that's actually the root cause. So I think we can easily miss how our body's working together as a whole simply because we segmented our body into so many different pieces, yet we failed to look at how it's functioning all together. And it's always 100% of the time functioning together. So if energy can neither be created nor destroyed, that must mean that we all have a set amount of energy. We all have, I like to think of it as an abundance of energy, but we truly all have just a set amount of energy, which is plenty for survival. Now, inside of your body is always trying to maintain that set amount of energy. It's always trying to stay in balance. It's called homeostasis. And our body works to maintain this balance every single second of every day. Homeostasis is the essence of life, right? Anytime our body gets too out of balance on the homeostatic level, it fights to bring it back. So think about body temperature. When your body temperature rises and you get a fever, your immune system is working to fight something off so that it can bring it back into that homeostatic value. So our body is working to maintain a homeostatic level. When our body gets out of balance, more than likely, you're going to feel it or notice it in a symptom, which I like to relate to as a biofeedback marker, which is essentially saying there's a communication signal that's sent to you that tells you something is out of whack. So again, like the fever, right? Obviously, you start to feel that, you notice that, you get other symptoms associated with a fever. The same thing happens when your body gets too cold. You might start shivering, your hands and feet get cold. Your body's naturally going to want to attract warmer things. And so your body's just fighting for homeostatic value. This happens with every single aspect inside of the body, and it really is all foundational to energy. So what happens with our body, for instance, when it doesn't have enough energy or it's channeled that energy into a negative direction, your body's going to fight for energy on the other side. So it's going to look for energy sources to bring that back up. Now, I want to be really clear about one thing. Your body has plenty of energy on its own. So your body always has enough energy. So I don't want you to think about we just have to keep finding places to add energy to our life. An addition of energy is not necessarily beneficial. It's the balance of energy. Because just as not enough energy is damaging to our body, too much energy could be equally as harmful to the body. Our body truly is working for balance. And I know the world hates this word and term balance because it feels so unachievable. But I think that we think of balance as like this perfect scale where everything is weighed perfectly. But really, it's truly just living in the moment, doing the best with what you have, and providing what you can to support the body and its functioning. So again, when the body gets out of balance, it's going to fight for whatever it's missing, right? When our body gets too cold, it's going to fight for warmth. When our body gets feverish, it's going to fight to bring it back into homeostatic value. The same thing goes when your body starts to get dehydrated, it's going to signal thirst. It's going to make you crave something to drink. If you get too tired, your body's going to crave sleep. It's going to start yawning. You're going to get sluggish. Your body's not going to have the energy to function. Those are all signals that your body needs something. And it's the time to provide that to maintain the balance. So again, your body is always looking for this balance in life, and that's something that we should be aware of. Because when your body gets out of balance, that's when we start to see disease and symptoms and annoyances, and things just don't happen as they should. This is, again, why I'm a really big believer in paying attention to how we channel energy or what our body is doing with the energy rather than calculating it. Because we can calculate and try and control external energy all day long. But it doesn't matter as much what you do or how much energy you provide to your body. It's what your body does with that energy. That's what really matters. And what your body does with that energy is going to be determined based on a lot of different things, which we're going to talk about at the end. But essentially saying your body is going to channel or always work to maintain homeostatic balance. The problem is that sometimes our body gets out of homeostatic balance for survival. So sometimes it's going to kind of throw this idea of homeostasis or thriving out the window, and it's just working to keep you alive. And this is where I see so many people get hung up and in trouble, is because their bodies have been triggered to go into survival mode. So if we just break down thriving and surviving mode, those are just the two forms that our body can live in. It's either or. And we can flip-flop back and forth a lot of times throughout any given day. But some of us are just sitting in survival mode. Now, survival mode is the perspective to the body that there is a threat and our body must conserve energy. Given energy is the foundational component of life, if your body fears there's not enough energy, it's going to start storing, hoarding, and conserving energy. So energy truly is a survival mechanism of the body. Thriving is an abundance of energy. You have great flow. Your body's not worried that it's going to be scarce or that it's not going to have enough. And therefore, it kind of opens up this flow of energy and it allows it to flow to the different places inside your body that needs it. It doesn't store, hoard, and conserve it. So let's use this in the form of body fat, right? Body fat is a stored survival mechanism of the body. People hate it, I understand, but it truly is a survival response of the body because energy is the utmost survival response. It's the very thing your body must have in order to survive. It's survival of the fittest. The fattest live the longest. And so your body, anytime it feels threatened for a prolonged period of time, is going to start to shut down unnecessary uses of energy, and it's going to channel that energy into the storage form, which is body fat. Body fat is a survival mechanism. It's a storage form of energy. When your body feels like it doesn't have enough, it will pack on the pounds. So you might be thinking, I don't even eat that much food. I don't even have, consume that much energy. I'm counting calories. I'm doing all of this, and I still can't lose body fat. It's because your body feels threatened, and we cannot override that system, but we can support it and make it feel safe so it can come out on the other side and start to let it go. So your body, when it feels threatened, it's going to start storing body fat or energy in the form of body fat. And it does this, again, to be used in time of crisis. But when your body starts to store this body fat, it also decreases the flow of energy in your body. So you also probably feel sluggish, you feel tired, and most likely you also still feel hungry. You feel like you're craving things, especially high energy foods, like quote unquote those unhealthy foods that you don't want to eat. And that's simply because your body has gotten out of balance. It's storing, hoarding, and conserving energy on one side while still needing energy. Therefore, it's making you crave energy and it's making you conserve it at the same time. So it's truly this double whammy that is the nightmare of health, right? It's the very thing everyone hates. And we have to get out of that. And there are easy ways to get out of that. It is not difficult, but it does not come from counting, because counting does not distinguish what your body does with those things. And then sometimes it can enhance that survival response, making you store, hoard, and conserve it. That's because metabolism works to meet your energy levels. So don't think you can change metabolism by simply eating less and working out more. That's not how this system works. Metabolism essentially meets your energy levels, meaning the less energy your body has, the lower your metabolism is. What you really need to do is learn how to unleash this energy, learn how to channel that energy into a healthy direction, and move to a state of thriving. And again, that comes back to having your body in a safe, healthy position away from scarcity and into an abundance of energy. So again, energy is kind of like, I like to think of it as this big communication signal to the body. It's either telling our body that we have plenty of energy, things are going well, we don't have a lot of threats, therefore we can thrive and we can maintain adequate homeostatic value without conserving, hoarding, and storing energy. On the flip side, if your body feels threatened, it's going to shut down and it's going to slow down, and that's going to introduce all of those symptoms that you hate. Where health is simple, it's literally moving you from a state of survival into thriving mode, and that always comes back to supporting your energy levels. So first, we have to understand, what are the things that are influencing your energy levels? There's a whole lot of things. It's basically everything and anything you come in contact with in a day is going to influence your energy levels. Now, some are going to be relatively neutral and not going to have as big of an influence on your body. However, there are other things that are going to have massive differences in your energy levels. Of course, we know that food drastically changes your energy levels for good or for bad based on the quality and even the timing of that food. So like if you consume a healthy food, something that's nourishing and vitamin rich, obviously that's going to enhance your energy levels. But on the flip side, you eat something that's heavy, that takes a lot of energy and work to break down, something that's quote unquote unhealthy, that's going to decrease your energy levels. Yes, it may appear like you're adding in a bunch of quote unquote calories, but just because it has a lot of energy doesn't mean your body's going to do positive things with that energy. So those things obviously matter. Movement matters. How we interact with the sun and the earth, that matters. Our emotions and our mindset, in fact, are one of the largest components of energy consumption. Over 70% of our energy level or value is based on our mindset, on our emotions, and our thought patterns. This stuff is a big, big deal. And we're going to talk about this a lot over the course of the year. But how you think, what's going through your mind, where you choose to focus your attention, those things are significantly going to change your energy levels. But we can feel this, right? If you get into an argument or you feel like your kids are whining and you're yelling at everyone, that's exhausting. But if you're just laughing, having a good time, thinking positive thoughts, that is what's considered one of the highest forms of frequencies or highest forms of energy to our body. And so we know that the mind is the leading influential factor in our health. So of course, we're going to talk about that. But that includes like relationships and even the environment in which we live. Everything in our life is having a positive or negative effect on our energy levels. Now, sometimes we could say like, okay, we just don't really feel a change in those. Those are just pretty close to this neutral point, even though in the energy field, there's no such thing as neutral. But some things just don't have as big of an effect on our lives. So again, it's always about finding this balance in our life. It's about knowing what is good and healthy. And for most of us, we're living in an energy debt where we just haven't had enough energy. We're living in the survival response of storing, hoarding, and conserving. So supporting that energy level looks like you're adding in energy, moving you up to become balanced. But I don't want to fail to see that sometimes too much energy is having a negative effect or a negative impact on the body. There are different mechanisms inside the body where it builds up energy. One is anger, another is anxiety, but we can even look at synthetic forms like caffeine. So caffeine is a stimulant to the body, but it's not necessarily a natural stimulant. So even if you're working from an energy debt where you don't have enough energy and you feel like you truly need your caffeine, that caffeine's going to come in and it's going to quickly raise your energy levels. But because it's not true and lasting energy, it can actually enhance the stress response, which makes that go into storage, hoarding, and conserving. So while you might initially feel a boost in energy, it doesn't last if it's not done in the right place. Not saying that happens all the time, but we certainly can't use caffeine or synthetic forms of energy in order to boost it because we don't want to raise ourselves too high because that can lead to anxiety and anger and what we consider a buildup of energy that eventually erupts. Eventually, we have to come back to balance. And that's why we let it out, right? Like that's why anxiety is kind of like this fidgeting or this fixation on different things. And that's just trying to help your body release that energy. So again, why working out is important is some people are like, well, that can't be energizing. Well, it brings your body back into a balance. So sometimes it lets out that negative energy that's building up inside of the body, letting that out, helping you come back to balance. And it's always in balance where you feel harmony, where you feel good. Too much energy, you might think, is a great thing, but think about your kids on sugar, right? Man, that is crazy. And it's overwhelming. And sometimes I'm like, like you have too much energy, just like sit down, but they physically can't sit down. We can see that's not healthy either. We want that balanced energy. That's what we're going for. And again, where your body falls on kind of this quote unquote energy meter determines what your body's going to do with the things that you provide. So if your body is lacking energy, if you don't have enough energy, and then you consume food or you do a workout or a really intense workout, what your body does with those things is going to vary based on where you fall on that energy meter. Now, just for fun, I created an energy quiz that helps you determine and shows you where you actually fall on that energy scale. So if you haven't checked it out, just go to the homepage and try that quiz. And at the end, I give you all sorts of tips on how to balance that energy level based on where you fall. Side note, but it's really fun and it's hopefully helpful for you. So I know we're coming up on the end of this time. I hope this is starting to explain energy, but you're all thinking, okay, what can we do about it? The first and most important thing is just to understand and pay attention to how it is that you feel. How you feel is the best determinant of your energy levels because your body is always giving you biofeedback signals, whether it's thirst or weight gain or hormonal issues based on where your energy is functioning. Oh man, I want to give you a really great example of this. I'll just do it. We might go a little over time, but it's totally worth it. So a good example of this is when you have a massive change in your hormonal cycle. So your body has a set amount of energy, right? And generally speaking, it distributes that energy to the different systems of the body based on their needs. Now, there are times in life when your body needs more energy to go to a specific system, but because your body only has a set amount of energy, that means it's going to take away energy from another system. So let's use the hormonal system as a great example. So say you're going through your cycle, you're coming up on menstruation, or even puberty is a great example, or menopause. These points in life when your hormonal system is having a drastic change, that takes a lot of energy. Now, a lot of people think it's a hormonal issue why I get acne or all these PMS symptoms, but it's truly an energy issue. Because what happens when your hormonal system takes more energy, it takes energy away from the other systems of the body, like the immune system. So the immune system doesn't have enough energy to do and support all the processes of the body. So it starts to take away from what it's doing, which can lead to like skin irritants, like acne, and blemishes. That's simply because energy was moved from the immune system, and your immune system is responsible for skin health, to your hormonal system to support that change. And that's often why we see flare-ups or acne or other PMS symptoms along with these big hormonal swings. It's not necessarily because you have a hormonal issue. Your hormones are simply a messenger of how much energy you have. So if you want to fix that issue, you have to come and learn how to support your body. So there are times when your body's going to channel energy or need more energy to go to specific systems, like every month when a woman cycles, or if you get a sickness or an illness or an injury. Those situations in life take a lot more energy, and we have to learn how to support that energy rather than try and beat our body into submission. Because this is where calculating energy does not work, because your energy level will change daily based on what's happening internally. And the best thing that we can do for our body is learn how to listen to that and bring in and constantly look to how can I support that energy level inside of my body. So there's a few things that I want you to pay attention to. One is just pay attention to how you feel and pay attention to the things that you interact with and how those make you feel. Even sometimes you'll come across people who feel like they're draining to you, right? And they can take some energy away from you. You'll interact with other people who actually just fill you up. They give you more energy. Paying attention to how you respond to different processes in life helps you to be aware of what it is that your body needs and providing more of that. We are not responsible for our body's job. Our body is very, very great at keeping us well, and it wants to do that more than we ever give it credit. Our only job is to support an environment in which our body can thrive. How can we do that? By supporting its energy levels. And there's 3 big ways that we can support our energy levels. One is just paying attention to the quality of energy, whether it's food or exercise or our morning routines or these different lifestyle practices that we want to get ourselves into. Right? We could use the example of self-care. Self-care has been like this big push. It's a super sexy term in the health space, but sometimes it causes more stress and more harm than it is good. Anytime you move from something being energizing and good to being, another thing I have to do, another thing I have to try and make time for, like this force, you just take good things and you make them bad. So the quality of the energy matters. And these all kind of work together. The quality of the food that you eat matters. The quality of the water that you drink matters. The quality of the exercise that you do matters. It's not that one specific thing is right or wrong. It's what you need in that moment and the reason and the perspective in which you come, which is number 2. Our perspective makes all the difference. Our mind is responsible for 70% of our energy levels, meaning our mind is truly one of the biggest determinants whether we're living in survival mode or thriving mode, whether we perceive threats, whether we're stressed all the time, whether we're scared or living in fear or overwhelmed. That's all going to tell our body there's a threat. Even though there might not be a threat to our body, it's going to start to shut down and move into survival mode, which is going to make it impossible for you to see the changes that you want to see, because no amount of beating your body into submission can overcome a stressed and survival response inside the body. We have to work with our body. So trying to understand a different perspective, trying to see things in different ways, trying to create a positive spin. Honestly, this is where the belief system comes into play and why it's so powerful. And the last thing is the timing of energy. When our body needs energy and supporting energy is going to be different during different times of the day. I'm going to talk about this in a later podcast, but specifically timing different activities and even eating at different points in the day is going to change what your body does with those things. So this is a really big deal. So timing of energy. We need more supporting energy during the morning hours when our body is going to do work, when it's up and about. It doesn't necessarily need as much supporting energy and outside sources at nighttime. At nighttime, our body just wants us to rest deeply because that's the most efficient form of energy it needs at night. So eating more of your foods earlier in the morning is going to make a big difference rather than eating and consuming the majority of your calories at night. We'll talk about that in a later podcast, but we talk all about that in Health Made Simple. So if you really want to start implementing that before we get there in the podcast, hop into Health Made Simple because I'll explain everything in there. So again, quality, timing, perspective, these things matter. But the biggest point with your body is that it knows best and it's constantly telling you. There is no static set box to the health space, right? It's not about just consuming this amount of calories because your calorie count is going to change in any given day. And it can change by a lot based on what your body is going through. But if you just constantly pay attention to how can I do more things that support my energy, that provide for that energy, you're going to see massive changes because the number one indicator of whether your body is living in survival mode or thriving mode is your energy level. And as soon as your energy feels threatened, whether it's by negative thoughts or whether it's by a restrictive diet or whether it's by too many hard workouts, your body is going to start to conserve, store, and hoard, meaning your metabolism is going to lower to meet that, and it's going to feel impossible to see any change because that's not how your body was designed. But if you can learn to support your body by sleeping well, by moving based on how your body's feeling, by providing the right foods, by taking your supplements, by drinking plenty of water, those are all supporting mechanisms that are going to enhance your energy, reminding your body that it has plenty so that it can start to release the stored energy that you've put on your body. Your body does not want to be overweight. It does not. It wants to be at a healthy weight more than we will ever give it credit. But it will not be at a healthy weight if it does not feel like it's safe enough. So we have to start to create and foster that environment of safety. And that simply comes back to looking at everything in life as either enhancing your energy flow or taking away from it. And trying to create that balance that always keeps you in that homeostatic, thriving mode. That is the point of life. So all of this to say is that I hope you learned a thing or two about the body and start to see, oh, maybe it's not as complex as I think. Maybe it's not about the next best diet. Why do some diets work? It's because they're really great at supporting your energy flow. Do you need to do that in order to support your energy flow? No. And I think it's great to learn about that, but you definitely can to jumpstart your body. Those are really great things at jumpstarting your body, but we still have to learn how to long-term provide energy for our body because our body is constantly changing. Therefore, your energy needs are constantly changing. So I want you this week to truly pay attention to your energy flow. What things are you consuming? Are they enhancing your energy and supporting it, or are they taking it away? What things are you drinking? What relationships are supporting it and taking it away? And it's not to say that we have to get rid of everything that destroys our energy, but we can start to understand where do I need to put my focus and attention to help support and to make it better in my life. That's what this is all about. So I'd like to say it's magic, but it's simply the intended design of the body, and it's the true full body approach. So this week, I want you to start making a list of things that support your energy levels and things that take it away. You're not going to get rid of everything that takes it away, but you certainly can know that if your job is taxing, what are additional things that support your body that you can add into your daily routine that helps support that? Again, we don't have to get rid of everything bad. That's impossible. Life is always going to be hard, but it's always about finding that balance within that. And yes, I believe in the word balance. So anyways, I hope this episode was helpful. I know we're a little over on time, but it really is a big lesson. If you want to learn more or make this a personalized approach in your own life, you've got to join Health Made Simple. And I don't say that lightly. This class can change the game for you. Head on over to thelivingwell.com and join Health Made Simple. That's it for today. I will be back here next week with a brand new podcast. Thank you so much for listening. You all are the best, and you know where to find me if you have any questions. Don't forget to share this with your friends and family because this lesson needs to be heard. So make sure you leave a screenshot on social media, send it in an email, and let other people who maybe wouldn't otherwise know about Made for Living Well come and join this community of people who are looking to establish health for life and not just live for health, but use health to create a life well lived. Okay, you guys have the best week. I'll see you back here next week.